All right. So welcome. Thank you everyone for being here on this It's Learning training. We have back-to-back sessions today. They're kind of modeled to be an overview of what the course templates look like, answer any It's Learning questions you have. Hopefully you walk away with some skills that prepare you for the start of school. And the next session after this, the 11 o'clock one, is the same type of content and format. So if you wanted to hear some of the same stuff twice, you are more than welcome to do that, but it is not a different session. I had a couple questions about that, so I wanted to clarify that so you can plan and schedule your day as you want. So my name is Brenny Coomer. If we haven't met before, I probably have talked to you virtually or over email. I'm one of the system administrators for It's Learning. I work with a lot of instructional technology, so Google tools and things like that, and e-learning. And if you have questions about your It's Learning courses and having difficulty, chances are I'll be in contact with you or be the one who's answering some of your 360s to get those resolved. So our focus for today is getting our It's Learning courses ready for the school year, getting an idea of what the new look of It's Learning is, which is really just those course templates, figuring out how you can edit those and customize them and make them your own, and how you can leverage some of the more powerful tools on It's Learning to support your students in any teaching and learning environment. So I do like to add this as a disclaimer before we go too far into things. I have these slides, but I will go out of them pretty often just because I feel like it's pretty effective to show you the tools on It's Learning rather than just screenshots and talk about them. So I will be diving on to It's Learning regularly, and if at any point in time you wanted to pull up your own It's Learning course and play along and practice some of the tools, go for it. You can always split your screen and do that, and that's usually what I find myself doing in a lot of technology type of trainings as well. This was something that was sent out to you in my big It's Learning email I sent to everyone last night. And it's a guide here that's 10 steps to get your It's Learning course ready for the start of school. We're going to be covering about, I think, 9 out of 10 steps on this in this training today. So it's just a reference for you if you're wanting to make sure and have that way to cross something off so you know you're prepared. All right. So accessing It's Learning, if you are a returning teacher, this is probably very familiar from our last 9 weeks of virtual learning and e-learning. You can access It's Learning through the icon on your desktop, but if you're at home, you can also get to it from the BCSC website or from the It's Learning bookmark on your toolbar as well. And if you're wanting to adjust your profile in It's Learning by maybe adding a new profile picture, and even including maybe your school phone number on there if you want to have students get in contact with you that way, or putting any Remind information on there. I know some teachers like to use Remind to send text notifications to their students. You can add that information to your profile here so that when students hover over your profile on It's Learning or click your profile picture, they can see that. And that's just by going on to It's Learning and signing in and clicking your little profile picture, and you can get to that either through your settings or through edit profile. And you can update your information there. I do ask that you don't change your email here. It's linked to your school email, and we need to keep that the same for all of our digital tools and resources, but you can add in some of your other pieces and things there. That's not a requirement, but just something helpful to do to get yourself ready for the start of school. So now we're going to dive in to looking at the course templates and getting those ready to go. So we created your It's Learning courses a little bit differently this year. In years past, we would just create the course and it would be pretty empty, and you would copy over content and resources and kind of build it from the ground up. After e-learning and getting feedback from parents, staff, administrators, facilitators, coaches, really lots of different people and groups throughout the district, we kind of felt like there was a need to implement some changes to make things a little bit more consistent and to support our students and our staff a little bit better. And the idea that came out of that was using a template to build the courses so that there was some resources in there for teachers to get started. They don't have to start their school year without any material in their course. We can put in help guides for students in there so teachers aren't having to make their own, and to make it a little bit easier for all of our support staff, so our ELL teachers and facilitators and special education teachers, to go in and be able to figure out where the lesson materials are, because they dive into so many different courses. And this was explained in a slideshow and video I sent out a little bit earlier during the summer, but we're going to go through some of those different options today. So the key thing with the course template is that there's two choices. So you can either use the pages and folders option. I know a lot of teachers really like using folders on It's Learning because it kind of feels like a filing cabinet. You open that filing cabinet, you have your unit 1, your unit 2, and within each of those unit folders, you have a week during the school year or a specific lesson or chapters from your textbook, and that's kind of how you frame your lessons. You can totally still do that. We're not taking away that option. We're just giving you some resources to scaffold that option. So the way that you could use this specific option a little bit with the template, let's see if I can get this slide to load. Just showing a black screen for me, so I might just dive in to the platform. A way that you could use this is by, in your It's Learning course, there was a couple of resources that were added. So there was a course homepage. Looks like this. It has a couple of content blocks just to give you guidance on things to include and where you can insert some of your own classroom and contact information. And there was a daily lesson page that was added, and it says daily, but if you structure your courses so that it's, maybe this is a weekly lesson page, that's perfectly okay. I had some teachers asking me questions on that, and in hindsight, I should have changed the name on this to where it was just lesson page and resources instead of daily or weekly, but you can structure that as you need to, but this is kind of the page format for the day. And then there were, if you're an elementary teacher, you had your curriculum links that were loaded, because those are consistent for teachers in the elementary buildings across the district. And then there was a page of It's Learning tips for students, so that your students have some self-help resources within your course that you can direct them to. Then there's a folder here, and that's if you're using the plans way of organizing your course. So of the two ways you can structure things in your course, you can use folders, and you make folders for weeks during the school year, units and lessons, and use the course homepage here as your start page for your course. And then from this course homepage, there's links to those folders, there's links to past folder lessons. That's the way you can still use your folders and pages way of organizing your course with this new template. And the way I want to show you how to utilize that is by showing you how to leverage some of those different features within these pages and making sure that you can copy content and how to copy content over and edit these pages. Because initially, when you go into any one of these template pages that have been added in your course, you probably see a notification that it's from the library, it's a little icon here. You can't edit anything. I'm actually going to go into a course here just as an example. Having some feedback on there from someone, right? All right, so this is probably what yours looks like. There's a little library icon here, and that's telling you that it was from someone else made this resource. So you're looking at this, you're probably like, how am I going to be able to edit this page if I don't see any pencils or ability to edit? And the reason why it shows this is because this came from another profile on It's Learning, so it's not considering you to be the owner of this file, and you need to break the connection with the original template and make your own copy of it. So it's kind of like if you're thinking about a Google Doc or a Google resource, you have a view-only permission on this page right now, and you just need to make your own copy so you can edit it and tweak it and make it your own. So you'll click the three-dot button in the corner, and in that options menu, there's one that says Create Own Copy. So three-dot button and Create Own Copy. And then it wants to confirm that you want to make your own copy, and you do. So you'll select the green button. Takes it a second. And when it's finished, you'll just refresh your page. And after you do that, voila, I can now edit These content blocks, I have the ability to do that. I can add my own additional content blocks if I like, so it's no longer a view only permission. I have my own version of this, and it's mine. It's not tied to anyone else's. Mine to make changes to. Okay, so this is just kind of how you can get started with that course homepage option. So I could go through, I can start off by adding my own email and contact information here for my students. So if I click the pencil button, it brings up this editor, and I can start plugging in my own information. I could click OK, and now it's saved my changes there. So I have my own email, and we're good to go. Now over here on this start content block, it gives the recommendation to add a video here. So if I click the pencil button and I want to make changes to this content block, and maybe I want to record my own video here to welcome my students to my class, I'm going to have an audio recording of me saying hello and welcome and introducing myself for the school year. I can do that all within It's Learning. So I don't have to go to an outside tool to do that. It's all within this toolbar, and it's called the Rich Text Editor. It's in lots of places on It's Learning for you as a teacher, and also on tools that your students can use so they can record and insert video as well. So if I wanted to add a video here, what I can do is, firstly, I can delete this little note here that says insert video. You probably don't want that there for your students. I can delete this picture, backspacing, and I want to put my video right here. If I hover over any one of these tools on the toolbar, it will tell me what that tool does. So right beside the microphone and the math equation tool is the video. So I'd select that, and it's not going to like me trying to do this right now because my video is currently being used on this Zoom. So if I already made a video, I could upload it, but if I want to create one all within It's Learning, I would give it permission to use my microphone and my camera right here. I would click the green record button, it records, I click stop, it lets me listen to it first, I can continue recording, delete it, start over if I want to, or if I'm finished, I would just insert it and it would be right there. So I can't demo that for you right now because I'm on Zoom and I'm using video, but I do want to show you an example of what that looks like. If you've added the video, so here's an example. So if I made my own video on It's Learning, that's what it looks like. It inserts a little video block here, and then I can continue typing and making changes below that. I use the video tool, so it's all good to go. My students can listen to it all right from there. Right, I'm gonna go back over. Now, if you are wanting to know how you can copy over a video, maybe you have multiple classes. So if you're at the high school level, maybe you don't want to have to recreate a welcome video for every single class. You could reuse videos. That'd be good to kind of give a personalized message for your student. But you can copy over anything in a content block as well on It's Learning. So if I really wanted to reuse everything I have on this page, you're looking around on this homepage tool, I don't see a copy button anywhere, right? There's not the ability to just take this start block and copy it over into that other course that I'm working in. So the way to do that is I'll click my pencil button. And if I wanted to copy this content block, it's gonna look a little scary here for a second, but it's a time saver, especially if you want to reuse things that you've already made before and kind of save yourself some time. But I'll click the source button, and it's going to make it look really scary there. It's a bunch of HTML symbols and computer language, and you don't have to know how to code to do this, but it does look a little scary there at first. So I click the source button on the toolbar, and then I'm going to select all of this. So I can scroll on down the page, select it all, or I can just do Control A. If you like keyboard shortcuts, Control A, that also selects all of it. And then what I'm going to do is everything I've selected, I'm going to copy. So I'm going to copy. Your keyboard shortcut person, Control+C. And now I'm going to leave this content block. All right. So I copied that all on my clipboard, all that scary looking code. So it's the pencil button. Maybe if I click it right, there we go. Pencil button to edit, click source, select all, copy it, and then leave that content block. And now I'm going to paste that in on whatever content block that I want. So for this example, I'm going to paste it in on this one that I've already opened. So I'm going to click source on this new content block. And I'm going to paste. All right, so I click source and I just paste. You use keyboard shortcuts, it's Control V. Paste it. And then I'll click source. And there's my video. Now I did duplicate some of this. I copied some of the same stuff from that other content block over. So I click source, pasted in all that scary looking computer code, click source again, and it copied it over. So I continue editing, but if I'm done editing, I'll just click OK. And there we go, copied over that content block. So it's good to go. Now you don't have to follow, you could technically follow those same steps with adding a new content block. So if I didn't want to add it to this welcome one, maybe it's something different, and I want to have another content block, I would click add content block, rich content, and I'm going to click the source button again, paste. I still had all of that code copied on my clipboard. Click source again. Gives me a little preview there so I know, and click OK to save my changes. Right, and then I can move and rearrange this whole format here if I want. Or if I don't like the way that looks, I can delete it. And it does give you a warning that technically if you delete a content block on itslearning, it's not deleted right away. It actually saves it there for a number of months. And if I deleted it, it's not truly gone. If I accidentally deleted something and I didn't mean to, then when I go to add a new content block, I have a new section here that says view deactivated content blocks. And I can recover that or reactivate it. It's the right vocab. And then it brings it back, so it's not totally lost forever. But if I really want it gone, then I can just delete it and not have to recover it again. All right. How are we doing on the chat?
Brenny, one of the questions was, is there a limit on video time-wise within itslearning?
I don't know off the top of my head. I know that your video has to at least be 10 seconds long, but time limit recording after that, I'm not 100% sure. I've made a video on here that was over 10 minutes before because it was like me giving a mini lecture to my students, and I could do well over 10 minutes. Now I wouldn't recommend doing like 45-minute hour recording on here, but you can record for a significant amount of time within this tool. It's a good question, whoever put that in the chat.
And then one other is that the template, is it in the library, and then what is it titled? I'm assuming it's in the library.
Yeah, all of them are in your, well, when you say the template's in the library.
So I believe somebody edited the template and can't revert back to what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
how can
it's
they
in the
re-add
library?
that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure it's just called BCSly template, but it's shared in there multiple times. So you can recover it from the library tab on itslearning. Yeah, there's a bunch in here, but it's the home page template. No, it's not that one. That was a different one. I will have to do some digging on the exact, oh, here it is, course homepage. This one. And you'll know it's that one because it's called it's by BCSC Template Builder.
Okay.
Go to the itslearning library and look there. It's one by the BCSC Template Builder, which is me, just a different alias, I guess. But yeah, I can help you copy that over if you have questions as well, but it's through the library. I saw a question in there about audio recording and video recording. You can upload video that you have saved in your computer too. Yeah, so you can upload video and do a content block on that video tool, the video recorder I showed you. You can do that. And if you want to have closed captions on your video, maybe it's a video recording you're using for a lesson and it's a little bit lengthier. It's not just you talking, it's like content or something along those lines. It's not just a short welcome message. I would recommend putting your videos on like a YouTube channel, making a YouTube channel for yourself. And YouTube videos automatically create closed captions for you. So it kind of makes your videos more accessible, and then you can embed YouTube videos on itslearning. Right.
And I would say too, yeah, you can upload long videos, screencast, things like that, to Google, to YouTube.
Yep.
There's several ways to do that.
Yeah, I would use the itslearning video tool for explaining your lesson for the day, goal and instructions, anything along those lines. And I would use some of those other tools for like lectures, lengthier pieces of your lesson because of that. They're a little bit more dynamic. Loom or Screencastify? I like them both. That's a really hard question, Laura Daly. I like Screencastify because I like the editing tool on that one a little bit better than I do Loom, but they are both amazing. And Loom and Screencastify, if you're in the chat right now, are both video screencasting tools. So you can record your screen and yourself or just your webcam. They're amazing. Both of them are. With Loom, that one used to be free and then there was a paid version, but if you're a teacher, you get the paid version for free. All you have to do is just confirm your teacher email, which is your BCSE email. Screencastify, we did purchase the unlimited version of that. And if you use Screencastify, it saves everything in your Google Drive. You can upload it directly into YouTube. And I think with the Loom version that you get with your teacher account, you don't have the ability to upload it as quickly into all of those places. All right, so video questions, we're good to go there. So on the template, we looked over how you can copy content blocks, add your teacher welcome video. The other key piece here, if you're using the pages in the folders way of organizing your course, and this is probably where I've gotten the most questions from people, is we have this content block here that says current and past lessons, and we have this start button that says link to the day's lesson. How do I add a link there to my daily lesson, my folders? How do I do that? So my advice to you is try to streamline this as much as possible. So this current and past lessons block up here, you don't have any past lessons yet because we haven't technically started school, but if you want to do some planning right now and save yourself time when classes do start, this is what I would do. I would make a folder in your course, just call it folder of past lessons, and then put a link to that folder. And then for every week during the school year, you can make other folders for those weeks. So it's week 1, week 2, week 3. But the only link you're having to change on this page is just your daily lesson page, not this access to past folders link. So I'm gonna walk you through how to do that. So I'm gonna make a folder. I'll click the add button here in the top right corner, and folders show up right away. So I'll click show all. Takes me to all of these tools on itslearning. And I'll click folder, it's up here at the top, it's the first one. I'm just gonna call that folder past lessons. I have this toolbar here. If I wanted to add more pieces and make it fancy for our sake today, I'm just gonna give it a title and I'll click save. And like everything on itslearning, it adds it to my resources tree over here on the left. It puts it at the bottom. And I can also get to it through the resources tab on my course. Right, so I have my folder of past lessons there. So now I'm gonna go back to this home page. Okay, and what I'm going to do is hyperlink here where it says past lessons, right? But what I need to do is copy the URL for this folder of past lessons, and there's 2 ways you can do that. I can click on folder of past lessons and I'm in this folder, and I can go to my top URL bar on my Google Chrome browser and just copy that URL there. Or the other option is if I'm on my course homepage here and I have my resources tree visible here on the left-hand side of my screen. And if it's not, there's an arrow, you can make it visible. I have it visible here on the left-hand side of my screen. I'm gonna hover over where it says folder of past lessons, and you know that you have that one selected because it kind of turns a lighter shade of blue. I'm gonna right click, and I have some options here. I'm going to click copy link address. So I hover over folder of past lessons, copy link address, come over here to my content block. What I'm going to do, just delete some of that text there. I have my text typed out how I want it to read because I don't want to just paste in a hyperlink because that can look really messy. I'm going to select, and then all these buttons on this toolbar, I'm going to find the link button. If I hover over, it'll tell me it is the one right in between the anchor, which is the flag button, and the table. So I'll click the link button. I'm going to paste in that copied link address that we have. And you know that you copied over an itslearning one because it usually ends in folder ID and has a bunch of numbers. And if you scroll to the front of this URL, it has itslearning.com. So that's how you know you copied correct thing. And I'm gonna click OK. You know it turns into a hyperlink when it turns it blue. I'll click OK again. So now when my students are in my class, if they were absent or they need to go back and view resources to review for a test or something along those lines, they can just click where it says past lessons and it takes them to that folder. And then from here, I can add first week of school, save, right? I go back over here. Now I have folders here for those different weeks during the school year, so that the only thing I had to really get ready on this course homepage was just that initial past lessons folder link. And then my students can kind of be in the driver's seat from there and picking out what folders that they need. Right? So it's a similar type of concept here when we want to link to a folder or a page for daily or weekly lessons. Okay? So you did have another page template that was put in your course, and it's this daily lesson page and resources. So you can apply some of those similar skills that we were just talking about with adding video, adding content and information, and those type of pieces and things in there. So if I have ready to go on this page, added a couple things, or even if I don't have all of my page stuff finished, I can still link to that weekly or daily lesson page on this start page. And what I'll do is same concept. I'm going to hover over where it says daily lesson page and resources. I'm going to turn light blue, copy link address, click the pencil button. I'm going to make where it says today's lesson the link. So I'm going to highlight that and select it. Link button. Paste in that URL that we copied. Click OK. And if I want to make this start picture, this is a picture that's just pasted into your course. I want to make it so when students click this picture, it's like a button that takes them to the daily lesson page. You can make your pictures linked so that it's a little bit better for your students, a little bit more visual for them to figure out where to go. And that's where we put this piece in your course. So I'm going to hyperlink this picture just like I would text. I'm going to highlight and select it. So I'm going to select this picture, and you know you have it selected when it has one of those little boxes go around the corners. Click the link button, paste it in, click OK, and then it turns the edges of that picture, the outline of it blue. That's how you know it's hyperlinked. It did the same thing here for our text. So I'll click OK. And then if I click this text, today's lesson, there we go. It opens up that daily lesson page. I click the start picture. It also opens up a daily lesson page, right? So that's just getting your homepage ready if that's how you would like to use your course. If you were an elementary teacher, by default, this page was set up as being the first thing you go to and what your students go to as soon as you get into your course. If you're a secondary teacher, it's in your resources tree, but it's not set up as your start page. You can change that though. If you want to make this course homepage your start page, you can give it your own title. You want to by just typing up here. You want to make this your start page, it's in the More button and Settings. Course properties and features, and this is probably something a lot of us have done over the years. I know a lot of people did this the last few years. So it's More, Settings, and then Course properties and features, the first thing that pops up. You scroll about midway through the page, it's right below where it says functions and has all of these different checkboxes. It says choose start page. So from here, it brings up all of these different pieces in my course resources tree, and I'm going to select the start page. And I'll scroll down and click save. So More, Settings, Course properties and features, scroll down, right below functions, choose start page, select what you want to be your start page, click save. And now when students go into your course, that's what they're going to be taken first. They won't have to click on resources to get there. It will take them to that start page. So if you wanted to add other content blocks here, like maybe a link to your syllabus, classroom information, any news announcements. I know some teachers like to put maybe a link to like their school news network on there. You can totally do that. Customize it, make it your own. But the key thing is make sure that you have an obvious way for your students to get to your lesson for the day, and a very clear way for students to get to past lessons, and a way to get in contact with you so they know they're having tough problems or they need to email you or reach you. That's how they can do that. Right, so that's course start page in a nutshell. Now the daily lesson page piece. So a lot of what I showed you on that start page, those steps and skills are transferable here. It's just using the pencil button here. If you can't edit this quite right away, you would click the three dot button here and then make your own copy and then refresh your page. Right, and here's where you can add in your own bits and pieces and links and things and make it your own. Add your YouTube videos, your online textbook links, whatever you need to use for your class. Just make sure that you have some of these key things here, like your learning goal and your instructions, and then a video of you telling students what to do for that day, so they have an understanding in both written instructions, but also video instructions as well. Right. Nick, how are we doing on the chat? I see it lighting up.
Not bad.
Okay.
I think one thing, oh, I lost it now. Can you go through just real quick on, there's just the questions on archive courses. So it should be courses, all courses, and then they may have to select an archive button, correct?
Yep, so I'm gonna go to a different tab here just so I don't lose where we were working. So I go to my It's Learning, and I'm like, where are my courses from last school year? I had all these great things that I made from weeks and weeks of e-learning. You go to your courses menu, you probably won't see your archive courses there because it's only going to show your active ones. So we'll go to courses, all courses, and then right here it shows all of my active courses. Yours probably won't look as scary as this. But below, right where it has this little notification, there's a couple of options here. There's a drop-down menu, select archived, and it shows my archived courses. And I would go through and find the one I want. If I wanted to copy something over from an archived course, maybe I have a folder that I want to tweak or reuse that I knew worked really well with my students. I'll find that in my archived courses. I'll go to my course and I can copy over content from the resources tab in my course. If I wanted to copy over a specific folder, I can find that in my resources tree, or I can select everything all at once. For this example, I'm just going to copy over one folder. So I'll select it, the action menu here, action, copy to. And then from this drop-down menu, I can select my active course where I want to have that resource copied into. So I go towards the top, it'll show all of my courses for this year, my new ones, my active ones, and I can copy it over, use that drop-down menu to get there, and then I can even put that into specific folders if I want as well. And if you're copying over a lot at once, it will tell you that it's working to copy those. If you're copying over like tons of folders, it might take it a minute, but it'll copy it over when it's ready. And I had some, but it'll finish that for you, and then when you go to your course, it'll be there. That is how you can reuse some of your past stuff and put it in your course if you need to. Now, let's say you start building lots of content and putting lots of things in your courses, or you've copied over a lot of things, and you don't want students to get into those different resources yet. Maybe you don't want them to jump ahead, or you also don't want your course to look overwhelming. So if I have 10 folders that I just copied into this course and my students go to the resources tree the first day of school, that might be a little overwhelming for them and might be confusing. So what I would recommend doing is some of these different things that you're not ready for students to see yet, the resources tab, you can go there and you can deactivate or activate different pieces at your own will whenever you want, so that you can still see them, but they might be hidden to students. It always is helpful to go back and make sure that you do have the things active that you need for that lesson. I know sometimes we'd have instances where a teacher had forgotten to turn something back on, and then the students were like, I can't get to the lesson for today. So that happens. I know I have been guilty of doing that myself, but the way that you make things inactive so students can get to it, but you can, is you just click this no button on your resources tree. If it's a folder, it will ask you if you want to deactivate everything in that folder. So if that's the case, click yes. If not, then it won't deactivate everything in there. But if it's the parent folder and the students can't get to the other pieces, then it's going to make it difficult for them to get there. So that's a helpful thing for the beginning of the school year, especially if you put a lot of things in there. I would house that all in a folder and then just go through and little by little activate those things as you need to. All right, so that is the folders and pages option for organizing your course. I'm going to fly through the other option for the template on your course, and that's using plans on itslearning, because I did see that there was a question in there wanting to know about Google and itslearning and how they work together. And I want to see if we can try to get to that before 11. So Planner is the other way you can organize your course on itslearning. If you got into your course and are looking around in your resources tree, you're probably like, why is there a folder that's called sample plan? And the reason why we put that in your course is it's not something you have to use. It's an option. This is the other way of rearranging things. And we put that in your course so you can see what the planner looks like. So the plans or the planner on itslearning is a way of organizing your lessons in your resources and materials. It's not necessarily reinventing anything you've made. You can reuse folders and pages and assignments you have on itslearning that you've already built. You can reuse things from last year if you want to. It's just plugging them in and arranging them in a slightly different way than what a folder does. So what the plans does is it gives your students a play button at the start of lesson. So as soon as your students go into your class, on this overview tab, they would see a start button, and it would guide them through the plan for the day or the plan for the week, depending on how you've structured it. And the way we set this up is that in this new template model, you have some set things you need to include on a plan if you're using plans. And that is obviously the name and the date. That's something that's stayed consistent. Goal and instructions, because we know it's really important that we have a goal for our lessons and telling students what we're going to be doing for the day. So that's a column that we added here for you. Standards, you can add state standards to your course on itslearning, so you can put those there. And then resources and activities. And this is actually where you can add in all those different It's Learning pieces that you've either made, or you can build them from scratch right here if you need to. And then Teacher Notes is a section for you to write your contact information for your students, any upcoming deadlines or assignment due dates, just a place for you to communicate some extra information to your students so they see that. So I'm talking about this, but I want you to be able to see one that's already built out a little bit and has an example. So what I'm going to do is dive in to another course here really quickly. All right, so here is an example of a course that used the planner to structure and organize things. And to give this a more powerful view for you, I'm in teacher view right now, and you're probably like, she talked about this start button, but I don't see one. The only way to see the start button is actually to go into a student view. So a key difference here, if you're using plans to organize your course, I wouldn't use the course start page or the course homepage, because this overview tab, that is serving as your course homepage. So that's why there's two different ways of structuring your course. You don't have to do both, you can pick either one. So drop down menu, I'm going to toggle into student view. And this is just a helpful thing to do throughout your time with It's Learning and building resources, is to test it out. So beside the add button, pupil. Right. And here we go. So there is a start button there. The student sees. So
You can hear her, but you can't see her now. Oh yeah, I can hear her on here.
Don't worry about it. Thanks, Nick. All right, so I would click the start button and then it guides me through my resources step by step, right? So I have my goal and my instructions written out, standards, and then this is my lesson activities and materials there. This is a bonus thing the teacher put in for me, and then any teacher notes are right there. So this is what the plan view looks like for a student, and they can view all the steps in the plan with this overview button here, step out of it from there, and then resume where they were by the start button again. Right, so to build in some of those different pieces on a plan, I could give it and change the name here if I wanted to. You already had one sample and it's built for you. You can delete that name. On the plans tab, and to make this plan, I actually clicked add topic. Add topic is kind of like your bigger concept on It's Learning. It's like your units, your week, depending on how you want to structure this. So that's what I clicked to do this. So week 1 of school is what I'm going to call this one. And then the plans are the individual lesson components. So I can give this a title. Right? And add a date here, and that determines when it goes live for my students. So I'm actually going to set this up a little early so that we can see it for a little while. All right. Click OK. Leave that open for a while. And I can start typing my goal here. But in the example I showed you, there was a little bit more dynamic things than just text. It had pictures and things. If I hover over this little pencil icon, it brings up the rich text toolbar, so I can still add in my video there if I wanted to, a welcome video, my links, my resources. Save. I have standards that I've added to my course. I can do that. And there's a guide that I sent in that email that shows you how to add state standards. I'm not going to show you that right now, but it's pretty quick. It's in your email from yesterday. And then resources and activities is where I build in those other It's Learning resources. So I already made something in my course. I can click course, and I can use this daily lesson page if I already put something there, or if I have a folder I've already made, I can add it there. If I haven't made anything for this lesson yet, because I'm just getting started, I can create lesson materials from here as well. So I can make a new page from here, and that can be where I put my lesson materials for the day. If I'm using an assignment, I can add that here as well. I'll just put an example there. And add all different types of content. I can even copy things over or add things from my Google Drive if I needed to, or files from my computer. Can all go there. And if I need to rearrange the order, I can. And this drop-down menu here gives you even more options. You can rearrange from there or remove from this plan. It doesn't remove it from the course. Delete from course removes it from everywhere. Then I can add my teacher notes there. And whenever I'm ready for this plan to be active for my students, I select it, action, and activate. And so that's what puts up this active plan on my overview tab. So my students see a start button for them whenever they're ready to get going. Right, and we have a couple of videos dedicated entirely to the plan as well if you wanted to get a little bit more experience with that. It's on the summer PD bingo that was also sent out an email yesterday. It's about a 30 minutes video that walks you through all the ins and outs of the plans. And if you're interested in doing that format, I would recommend checking that out. I used both when I was in the classroom. I started out being like a folders and pages type of person, and it really worked well for me for a while, but then I kind of wanted to try something different. So I used plans for kind of like an advisory class I had later in my school day to get my feet wet with it. And then I really fell in love with that way of organizing my course. And it was just easier for my students to follow with the start button. But you can do both of them and use them both really well. They're just options for structuring your course. And I would recommend getting your students' feedback so they can get that. Right? In terms of assignments on itslearning and organizing ways for your students to turn in work to you, the assignment tool on itslearning is definitely the best one. It's probably the most used tool in all of itslearning. And you can build assignments on itslearning using that tool. It's in the add menu, and it's the first one that comes up because it's the most used tool. And what's awesome with the assignment tool is it not only organizes work for you and having all of your students turn in digital work in one place, but as someone was kind of asking in the chat, it's also a way for you to send Google resources to your students. So let's say I have a Google Doc that's a vocabulary assignment. I want students to use that specific format that I have is a way to organize their vocab words and their definitions and things. But I don't want to have to just send my students a shareable Google Doc link and then have them go file, make a copy, because that's a lot of room for error. It's time consuming, and inevitably a student might get lost along the way. With this feature, with the assignment tool and itslearning, you can send students their own version of a Google Doc, and as soon as they click it, it gives them editing access. It names that Google Doc after the student. You don't have to worry about sharing or getting a bunch of emails of students sharing it with you or students requesting access to your files. They already have their own version of that. So you can build that all through the assignment tool. So if I'm in the assignment tool builder, first thing I need to do is give my assignment a title. And then a description here. It's really good to put your instructions, maybe the deadline this assignment is due, and to make it more accessible and universally designed for your students, you do have this toolbar here. It's not obvious right away. If you click more options, it pops up. You can add in a video, audio, pictures, links, resources, anything you need. I put my instructions. On the right-hand side of this assignment builder is where I can have more of the settings for me as the teacher. I can put my deadline here, when this is due. You close it after the deadline. That does not allow students to submit it late, so I don't recommend checking that box unless that's something you absolutely want to do. When students do turn it in past this deadline, it does indicate that on your submissions report that someone turned it in late, so you know. Right, the other options that are here, peer assessment, if you're using that, it will give students, after the deadline happens, it'll give them a copy of the assignment from another student and they can add comments and feedback to it. And we have a video that kind of explains that as well. It was a part of the itslearning summer training on the assignment tool. Results are visible to students. That means that if you add comments and feedback, the students can see it. So usually you want that checked. And then plagiarism control and the like. If you add any Google Doc to the assignment tool and students turn in a Google Doc and you turn on plagiarism control, it does go through that. I know it does not always work with PDFs per se. So if a student attaches a PDF as their submission, it doesn't always work so well, but it does work with Google Docs. Right? So if I wanted to set this up where I have extra files, I could add things from my computer. I wanted to add a Google resource so that my students can maybe have it for reference. Do that. Maybe this is just a reading that I want them to have access to whenever they go and try to answer this assignment. I have the options here. I can make it either can view or make a copy. So I'm going to have it as view right now because I don't want them to edit this document. Let's say that the vocab activity I want them to complete is a Google Doc that they have to fill out. So brings up my Google Drive, and the first time you do this, you will have to give it permission. Give It's Learning permission to your drive, so I'll find it, select it, and on this drop-down menu, instead of keeping it students can view, I'm going to make a copy for each student and create. And it does take it a second, as you can see. Slowly but surely. Probably doesn't help that I have about 10 tabs open on my computer on another browser as well. There we go. Now the magic's happening. All right. So there we go. It shows my students those resources, and when my student, I'm going to go to student view here just to show you for that sake. When students go to answer this vocabulary activity, they see my reference material here to study those terms and read. And then here is where they'll start to answer their assignment. And because I made this Google resource, one that makes a copy for each student, when they click answer assignment, it opens a new tab and it's making them their own copy of that Google resource, and it names it after the student. So for this sake, it's going to have my name across the top, but if it didn't, it would have your student's name. And now I can edit and write and fill out this assignment. And whenever I need to go back and turn that into my teacher, I can submit it from here. It keeps it. They don't have to dig through their Google Drive to find it, or I can open it from here too up until that day that it's due. When the deadline reaches, students lose the ability to edit this document. They have view-only access at that point. Because It's Learning is technically the owner of that file because it created it for your student, and that's how they maintain the ability for your student to edit it up until that deadline and then turn off access after that point. If you don't put a deadline, then they maintain the ability to edit. Right, so I know we had a question about that, so I wanted to make sure we got through it. A few more in the chat. Yes, so the other types of, sorry, I just said yes without actually announcing the question to you all. If you put in a Google slide, that will also give students the ability to have their own copy. So the Google resources that work with that make a copy feature are Google Docs, Slides, Sheets, and Drawings. It does not work with Google Sites. So a Google website, you cannot do that and make a copy piece on. The student doesn't submit it, will automatically, no, they still need to click the submit button. But for you as the teacher, so if I have a student who didn't click that submit button, but they had at least opened that Google resource, when I go back to that assignment, I can see all of my students' names, and I can still get to their resource. It has that Google resource with their name on it linked there. But for them to be counted as submitted in your report, they have to click submit. Does not do Google Forms that you can't make a copy for each student on a Google form. Word documents, no, has to be Google. I edit the Google Doc, then I made a copy for each student. No, Cassidy, that's a really good question. If you edit your original template, it does not edit that for students because it's making a new version of that. It's no longer connected to your original.
I would add too, we have a question or, just about Word in general or any Microsoft product. If you open like a Google Doc and go to File Open, you can select a Word document and it does typically a pretty good job of just converting it right away. So you don't have to copy and paste it in. You can just open it and it'll convert.
Yeah, what Nick was talking about was converting Office documents into Google Docs. And you can do that all in Google Drive. So Nick, you usually go a different way than what I did. So
I do. I like mine way better, obviously.
yeah, your way is more efficient than mine, so I need to model this.
So if you go to that File Open, I don't know if you're going to be able to find a Word document.
I might have one or two. I used to be obsessed with Word, so I have something in here somewhere. And then upload.
While Brenny's doing this, Denise asked, is it okay to have everything on one page? We're somewhat recommending not because of the bandwidth it takes to download all of it. So there was an elementary teacher that had just a fantastic amount of information on one page, but by the end of the 9 weeks, students were scrolling and scrolling down, and there was lots of really good videos and images. But if they had any broadband issues at home, they technically, it took forever, or they couldn't load that page. So if you link from kind of your opening and at least take that stuff out of it, which again, you can just copy and paste it over, then I think that'll help with it. So keeping your curriculum on one side and then kind of your help and link to past lessons or whatever it may be, which may be the same, on another, it at least helps that load issue if students are at home.
All right, so we are at 11. We have an 11 o'clock one we need to start. Trying to go through this chat and see if there's any questions that I missed. I think you did a good job of answering most of these as they were coming in. All right, everyone. So I'm going to stop recording.